The backstage stories of WWE can be just as entertaining, if not more, than what you see on television. From crazy road stories to insane facts, we're going to look at 5 things you didn't know happened in the WWE. Raven was defending his Hardcore Championship against The Big Show and Kane when Raven ended up driving a golf cart around the backstage area while The Big Show choked him from behind. The plan was to have Kane drive another golf cart and they would chase each other around the arena, but that never happened. Raven had this to say about it. "I ruined the greatest spot in the history of WrestleMania. We were supposed to be driving around while Big Show's choking me and I was driving. I was supposed to drive all around the building with Kane behind us in hot pursuit. What happened was there was a fence that looked like a wall fence, so I thought if I drove onto it, I'd bounce off. I thought it would look cool because I was getting choked by a 400-pound guy. Then I hit the fence. Didn't get back anything and I just fell off the curb. But the best part is I came within millimeters of turning off the power to the entire building." Raven almost ended WrestleMania 17.
On that golf cart with a Big Show, an unwanted passenger.
The Undertaker's undefeated streak was an impressive 21 wins before he was defeated by Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 30. It's a record that will probably never be matched. The next closest wrestler to that record is Rob Van Dam. In his debut WrestleMania match, Rob defeated William Regal for the Intercontinental Championship. 2 years later, he teamed up with Booker T to retain their World Tag Team titles. In 2006, Rob won the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania 22 by defeating Ric Flair, Bobby Lashley, Finlay, Matt Hardy, and Shelton Benjamin. Rob fought his final WrestleMania match as part of the ECW Originals and defeated the New Breed. He currently has a 4-0 record. The Armageddon Hell in a Cell is a fantastic match with one of the most memorable stunts of all time. Rikishi getting chokeslammed off the top into a truck. Rikishi was a bit scared to do this. He was so scared that Shane McMahon had to convince him to take this bump. Rikishi had this to say. "Now I will say this on record. Shane McMahon actually climbed that cage and actually convinced me that it was easy to do. He climbed up, they backed up this tow truck or whatever, it was filled with hay, and this kid went to the top of the cage. He took the bump. Not once, but twice. If it wasn't for Shane McMahon, Rikishi may never have taken that bump."
Oh my God, look at this! 420 pounds! Oh my God, and this match continues.
Did you know that Andre the Giant fell asleep once while wrestling? Once Andre the Giant wrestled Sergeant Slaughter and had difficulty staying awake through the entirety of their match. "We came back from Japan," Slaughter said, and headed out to the road to a little town in New Jersey. People were coming out of the woodworks, and I came to the arena and Andre wasn't there yet. "His plane is late." Finally, one of the guys said, "Just go out there. He's on his way. Go rile up the people. When he's here, I'll send the referee." The referee eventually made his way to the ring and informed Slaughter, "You're in for a good time. Andre just made his way off the plane and he's in a great mood." Slaughter remembers their match. "Here he comes. I get him in the ring and he's kind of playing around with me. I got him in a front face lock and the referee asks if he wants to give up to the Sarge. The ref picks up his paw and drops it down. There's no movement. He lifts it up again and asks me if he wants to give up, and down goes the paw again. All of a sudden, I look at the referee and said to myself, something's not right. All of a sudden, there was a snoring sound. Andre had fallen asleep. He was so tired from the trip that he fell asleep. Now I was trying to wake him up. We had only been in the match for 5 minutes. Andre did not want to be bothered when he's sleeping. He wakes up. He's mad at me. He starts chasing me around like a grizzly bear. I start running around the ring. He's coming after me. I jumped over the top rope. He came over the top rope. Ran around, and finally I headed back to the dressing room. I ran around the lockers. He'd been chasing me around forever. Eventually, Slaughter was able to escape in his limo. In the late 90s, Goldust was one of the most bizarre characters of all time. He would toe the line by making everybody feel uncomfortable. Did you know at one point, he pitched to WWE management that he would get breast implants? In his autobiography, Vince Russo writes, "Moments before we were about to pronounce the character dead, I got a call from Dustin. Vince, I got a great idea. Tell Vince if he pays me $1 million, I will get implants." "What?" I said. "Penile implant?" "No," answered Dustin. "Breasts." Let me break it down for you. Dustin was considering getting breast implants for the wrestling business. Jim Ross said, "Dustin, what about when you're not at work? I mean, those new boobs don't snap on and off. They're permanent until you have another surgery to have them removed." He indicated it would be worth the sacrifice because this character would be the hottest new thing in the world and the money would be rolling in for everyone. Bruce Pritchard talks about it on his podcast. Dustin really had worked himself up into making this big pitch. He had pitches to everybody around Vince McMahon except Vince McMahon. So Vince knew what Goldust was going to pitch to him. He already heard it from me, he heard it from Russo, and he heard it from Jim Ross. There was no way in hell that Vince McMahon was going to allow him to do this, and he didn't want to do it. We had jumped the shark so many times with the character, and this was too much. It wasn't going to happen. The idea? Well, that was eventually turned down by Vince McMahon.
All of you don't know I was Goldust, and Goldust sucked. Goldust nearly ruined my wrestling career.